On the silent sea, an ocean-going cargo ship was sailing slowly. The sky gradually dimmed, and under the night, the signal lights on the cargo ship were sometimes gone. A black figure was crawling on the signal tower on the right side of the cargo ship. He adjusted his posture. After finding a comfortable posture, the black figure slowly placed his left hand on the sniper rifle in front of him, and fixed the gun body with his right hand. The index finger stretched out and placed it on the trigger. Sniper bit. Ready. ZZ. The chaotic electric current sounded abruptly, and the black shadow frowned, and stretched out his hand to put on the communication earplugs hanging on his chest. Aaron, how are you preparing? Hearing Li Ji's voice, Gu Ren smiled at the corner of his mouth and said, Don't worry, brother Li, everything can't escape my eyes. As he said, Gu Ren opened the sniper rifle's magnifier. Under the effect of the night vision goggles, dozens of people on the deck of the cargo ship were clearly visible. As he said, all the enemies were exposed under his gun. That's good, this is your first time to participate in the mission, do not ask for merit, but for no error, you just remember not to shoot randomly, wait for the captain's order. No problem. Then I look forward to your performance. On the east side of the cargo ship, Li Ji took off his earphones, turned his head to Barney Rose and said, Head, over there is ready. It seems that our newcomer seems confident. Ross squeezed out a shriveled smile. His already paralyzed face and the squeezed smile always gave people a blunt feeling. The Christmas relationship with Ross has always been very good. Seeing his crooked smile, I couldn't help but ridicule, Head, can you stop laughing in the future? It's terrible to laugh, and people who don't know think you are a retarded child. Haha. The several death fighters beside them laughed. Rose glanced at Christmas and shook his head helplessly. He arranged his equipment as usual and made sure that everything was correct before he raised his head and talked about this mission. This mission is to rescue the hostages on the cargo ship. The customer requires us to achieve 0 casualties, so you must see clearly before taking action. I don't hope that the customer will take the hostage because of the death or injury, and deduct the bounty we deserve. Everyone nodded when they heard the words. The enemy this time is a group of pirates in Somalia. They use hijacked cargo ships to demand ransoms from the country where the cargo ships are located all the year round. The specific personnel are unknown, but according to my personal information, there are at least 30 pirates on this ship. Barney Rose reported on the mission while drawing up a plan that was arranged earlier. As a leader in the mercenary industry, the Death Squad, in addition to their magical players, the tactical command ability of Captain Ross, is also an important factor that makes the Death Squad stand out in the mercenary industry worldwide. Whether it is the well-known EP Mercenary Company in South Africa, the French mercenary group that ravages Europe, or the strongest Blackwater Mercenary Company in North America, they have all thrown out the olive branch against the Death Squad, a hired squad with a 100% mission completion rate. It's just that Barney Rose, the captain of the Death Squad, doesn't seem to want to join these mercenaries. Okay, I've said everything that should be said. Guys, it's up to you next. Barney Rose patted his palms, and when he finished speaking, everyone followed the planned plan and acted separately. And others dispersed. Gunnar Jensen did not act according to the plan, but followed behind his head. Something. Barney Rose looked back at Gunnar, with a little dissatisfaction in his eyes. Do you agree with the new person introduced by Yin Yang to come in? Do you want to take my place? Gunnar saw his dissatisfaction, but he still couldn't help asking his doubts. After receiving the mission, Gunnar Jensen learned that a new person had joined, and he was welcome at first, but when he learned that the new person was a sniper, the welcome became angry. In the current 6-man team of the Death Squad, everyone has a position for everyone, and Gunnar Jensen is the sniper position. But now a new sniper has been ushered in. No matter what purpose he is given a plan for the captain to abandon himself and instead want to cultivate a newcomer. Barney Rose didn't want to have a dispute with his teammates during the mission, and shook his head at Gunnar. We'll talk about this later. The most important thing is to complete the mission. No, you have to tell me now. Do you want to keep me or the new person? Boom. Barney Rose stretched out his hand to press Gunnar on the container behind him, squinted slightly, looked directly at the other person's eyes, and said nonchalantly, Gunnar, I don't want to repeat what I made. Rule. Hearing the words, Gunnar took a few deep breaths and calmed down for a while before he nodded and agreed, I know. It's best. Barney Rose released his hand and backed away a few steps, glanced at Gunnar meaningfully, turned and ran towards the interior of the cargo ship. Looking at the back of the captain leaving, Gunnar squeezed his fist and released it again. He then held the rifle hanging on his chest and followed the captain closely. Interesting. A sneer appeared at the corner of Guren's mouth. It seemed that Brother Lee was right. This stupid man is not a good person to get along with. The condescending Guren can see the small friction between Captain Ross and Gunnar clearly. Although I can't hear what the two are talking about, I can refer to the process of Guren's contact with the Death Killers in the past few days. Gunnar's dissatisfaction with Guren can also be understood. The appearance of his new sniper has put pressure on the old sniper. I hope I can be smarter and don't stop me from completing the task. Guren muttered, seeming to be mumbling to himself, and he seemed to be talking to Gunnar. The bottom of the cargo ship, where the hostages are held. Time has dragged on for too long. For 3 full months, you have enough time to pay the ransom, but you don't care about their life or death. Facing the portable video recorder in front of him, the pirate leader drew out the big knife worn on his waist. Gently stroking the cold face of the knife, looking fiercely at the kneeling on the ground, tied the hostages with both eyes. He grabbed the hair of the hostage who was kneeling on the ground, and suffered pain. The hostage raised his neck subconsciously. The pirate leader pointed at the camera and roared, "You don't care about their life and death, let alone our care. Then they will die. You did it with one hand." As soon as the voice fell, the pirate leader suddenly raised the sharp knife in his hand, and a cold light flashed under the searchlight. Puff! A black duffel bag dropped from the sky, shocking the surrounding pirates. The hand holding the AK couldn't help but tremble. The sudden change made everyone's nerves tense. The enemy. Suddenly, a pirate spotted the death squad hidden in the upper plywood of a cargo ship and shouted, "There are enemies! They are on it!" The pirates looked up. "Dear, when did 7 or 8 people come in?" Click, click. Accompanied by the sound of the bullet being loaded, the pirate leader was horrified to find that there were a few more red dots on his body. He was quite knowledgeable and understood that the red dots shining on his body were the infrared sights on the rifle. "Don't move. Don't be nervous, don't be nervous everyone." The pirate leader was afraid that his subordinates would accidentally go on fire, and let the enemy lurking in the dark kill him first. After pacifying these men, the pirate chief looked up at the enemy lurking above and said, "Don't shoot. Friends, who are you? You don't need to worry about who we are, there is money in the bag, $3 million, enough for you to be cool for a while, and let the hostages go." Barney Rose's dull voice echoed in the cabin. The pirate leader lowered his head and looked at the black duffel bag not far away. There was $3 million in it. At this moment, a trace of greed flashed in his eyes. He raised his head again and stared at the invisible figures above and said, "It's too late, you guys are too late, now I don't want $3 million, I want $5 million. Guren, who was at the commanding height of the cargo ship, could not help but shook his head when he heard the greedy words of the pirates in his earplugs. These pirates are really greedy. They have been touched close enough, so they dare to add money temporarily. I don't know how to write dead words." As Guren expected, Barney Rose was very dissatisfied with the pirate leader's temporary price increase. They only paid $1 million in employment fees for this operation. Yu reading www.yuyugonshu.com. These pirates want to talk about it again. Taking $2 million more is really idiotic. Last chance. Take it or not. Although the pirates had already been sentenced to death, Barney Rose decided to pay his respects before taking the hostages out of consideration for the hostages, and waited for the hostages to be rescued. Now, $5 million must be given, otherwise I will kill a hostage immediately. The pirate leader is not threatened by Barney Ross at all. He has been raging in Somalia for many years. He has long been accustomed to life and death. Money is the most important thing. Important. Hearing the words of the pirate's refusal again, Gunner, who was in a very unhappy mood, broke out in an instant. With a click, he loaded the grenade in his hand, and Barney Rose looked surprised. Yelled at the bottom, "This is a little warning for you. Do not." Barney Rose did not expect Gunnar to act arbitrarily regardless of the order. When he was about to stop him, Gunnar pulled the trigger. With a beep, the flaming grenades hit the pirates below. At such a close distance, although the grenades can solve the pirates, I am afraid that none of the hostages that have been pulled up will survive. Seeing that the grenades were about to explode among the crowd, Guren, who was hiding in the commanding heights, quickly got up on his knees and held the M110 sniper rifle in both hands. He couldn't even take aim, so he pulled the trigger. Only heard a bang sound. The bullet shot out from the barrel and hit the grenade in midair. With the loud noise of the bang, the flames of the explosion spread out, and the scattered shrapnel immediately hit the nearest pirates, and for a while, the surrounding area was filled with blood and fog. P.S. The first day of the new book, please recommend and collect. Good job! Seeing that the grenade didn't explode in the crowd, it just exploded at low altitude, and most of the people splashed by the shrapnel were pirates. Barney Rose couldn't help but applaud. The shot was really amazing. It seems that the newcomer recommended by Yin Yang not only has a good psychological quality, but also has excellent marksmanship. Thank you for the compliment. Guren humbly replied when he heard the compliment from Ribbony Ross in the communication earplug. Damn it! Before Barney Rose could continue to say something, the pirate leader below covered the blood-soaked part of his chest. Knowing that he had been shot, he roared under his hand angrily, fight back, hurry up, and fight back." The pirates who responded, heard the boss's words, quickly picked up the AK in their hands, and fired at the upper deck. Da-da-da! For a time, the fire was everywhere, and the gunfire was endless. The pirates launched an offensive, and the death squad fought back under the command of Barney Rose. "Throw smoke bombs!" Barney Rose did not immediately raise his head to fight back. Instead, he threw down a few smoke bombs, and then asked the team members to put on night vision goggles and precisely fired them at the smoke-filled pirates below, in order to ensure the safety of the hostages as much as possible. Under the attack of the smoke bombs, the pirates without strict training are just a mob. Although they are far more than the death squad in terms of number and guns, they are not the opponents of these six. Is only the first round of firepower confrontation, half of the pirates have already fallen. Seeing that the people on his side couldn't withstand the enemy's firepower at all, the pirate leader looked fierce and gritted his teeth. He raised the butcher knife in his hand again and pointed it at the hostage on the ground, just smashing it fiercely. Boom! A heavy gunshot sounded, and the pirate leader felt a pain in his chest, and when he looked down, he saw a big hole of blood in his chest. Seeing that he was hit by a single shot, Guren hit the pirate leader below with a shot, fearing that his subordinates would kill prisoners for revenge, and quickly depressed the semi-automatic switch with his right hand. Boom! 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 The first shot, the second shot, and the third shot. 3 shots were fired in a row, and 3 pirates fell down. This gave Guren a little more confidence in his first death squad mission. Regardless of the fact that the sniper is a hunter waiting for an opportunity, Guren squatted up, held the sniper rifle in his arms, held the magnifier, and put his right hand on the trigger again, with a slight force, facing the remaining pirate one below. Suddenly, The feeling of holding the sniper rifle and shooting freely made Guren's heart faintly hot. Soon, when the gunfire stopped and the smoke dissipated, Guren took off the night vision goggles on his face, looked at the pirate corpse below, and licked his dry lips. Perhaps, I used to work from 9 to 5 just to live, but now this kind of life is the life I want most. Seeing the end of the battle, the death fighters dropped the ropes and slid down. Highway and Caesar are responsible for going to the cabin to rescue the remaining hostages, while Yin Yang and Christmas stand guard behind Captain Barney Rose with guns to avoid sudden attacks by some hiding pirates. Gunnar glanced at Barney Rose, saw that he didn't give himself a mission idea, lifted the mask, and spit on the ground fiercely. He knew that Barney Rose had already given up himself in his heart because of his reckless behavior. Since we are leaving sooner or later, we might as well do something that I am happy about, Gunnar thought so, glanced at the pirate with a breath at his feet, a cold light flashed across the corner of his eye. Don't blame my friend, I like European medieval treatment pirates method. Boom! Suddenly a gunshot sounded. Barney Rose, Christmas, and Yin Yang were shocked and quickly made a defensive posture. When they looked around, they saw a pirate who had been shot in the shoulder, hiding behind the two hostages, staring straight at the ground. Staring at them. The pirate held the AK in his right hand, pointed at the head of a hostage, and said grimly, "Throw the bag. Throw me the bag full of money." The pirate's left shoulder was bleeding all the time, and the right hand holding the gun was also trembling. His dark-skinned face frowned from time to time. Sweat could not stop flowing down the sides of his cheeks. He was nervous. Afraid again. Who would have thought that the more than 30 pirates raging in Somalia, who had just been flaunting their weapons, would be destroyed by an unknown group of enemies in just a few minutes? "I can let you go, but you must put down the gun." Faced with the threat of pirates, Barney Rose remained unmoved. "No, I want money, give me the money, or I will kill him first." The pirate's face showed a hideous look, and the two hostages who were held as adult human shields showed their faces when they heard the words of the pirate behind. Frightened, the sealed mouth made a whining cry for help. This feeling of getting closer and closer to death was really difficult. "Yin and Yang, go get the money." Barney Rose looked at the pirate deeply, and said to the Yin and Yang on the side. Seeing someone at the other party went to get a black duffel bag full of US dollars, the only pirate left was hot, and that was $3 million US. Now that the boss is dead, all his companions are dead, and there is only one person, the $3 million is not his own. Christmas noticed that the pirate's vision had been staring at the Yin and Yang with the luggage, and he couldn't help but whispered to the captain, "You or me? Don't you always want to try it with me? See if it's your knife or my gun." Boom! As the dull sound of the sniper rifle sounded again, the pirate who had taken the hostage fell down and fell to the ground with a plop. If anyone came up to check, it would be clear that there was a bullet hole in the right temple of the pirate. The bullet directly penetrated his head. Everyone looked up at Guren, who was at the commanding heights in astonishment. Captain Barney Rose exclaimed excitedly, "Good job! Originally I thought I would use my assassin today. I didn't expect that your marksmanship, Aaron, is getting better and better. I will pay more bonus this time when I go back. Your share is your reward." Standing on a high place, Guren smiled and said, "Thank you, Captain. Is my newcomer assessment task passed?" Of course it passed. Barney Rose's iconic smile appeared again at the corner of his mouth. "If you are such an excellent sniper who can't pass the test, I'm afraid that my colleagues outside will call me unsightly." Along with the mechanical sound that only Guren could hear, his face was filled with unconcealed joy. He was finally completing the novice mission. Guren spent several years of time and money practicing guns. Head, what just happened? Why did there be gunshots again? Caesar and Highway, who realized afterwards, came out of the cabin with the hostages, just to hear the excited shout of the captain. "It's nothing, I announce to you a good news, the newcomer officially joins our death squad." Barney Rose announced the good news directly to everyone, which is regarded as confirming the fact that Guren joined the death squad. Yin Yang heard the captain announce the news that Aaron had passed, and he was silently relieved. The seemingly harmonious players in the team actually had their own ghosts. Except for the captain Barney Rose and Christmas, the rest of the players treated him always full of dissent, this time recommending Aaron to the team, which is considered to be an additional ally. Haha! Suddenly Gunnar's laughter spread all around. Barney Rose and others heard the sound and saw Gunnar walking onto the deck carrying the body of a pirate. What are you doing, Gunnar? Barney Rose frowned. Congratulations, for adding a shrewd and capable newcomer. Gunnar deliberately emphasized the word do. Barney Rose looked gloomy and said, I'm asking what you are doing, Gunnar. Me? Haha, I'm emulating the criminal law of European countries in the Middle Ages for dealing with pirates. Gunnar laughed madly, took out a rope and tied it around the pirate's neck. Gunnar is hanging the pirates and hanging the corpses of the pirates. This is the criminal law of European countries dealing with pirates hundreds of years ago. Christmas, which has a little understanding of the law of piracy, briefly tells everyone. Although they are mercenaries walking in the grey area, they have long been accustomed to seeing life and death, and everyone's hands are covered with countless blood, but the purpose of the death squad is not to kill innocent people, and at the same time not to kill. These pirates deserve to die, but this almost savage practice of hanging the corpse of the pirate is indeed a bit of a perverted bloodthirsty behavior. Christmas looked at Gunnar in disgust, turned to Barney Rose and said, this matter is left to you to take care of the captain. I don't want my teammate to be a bloodthirsty or even crazy fanatic. Well, you always like to throw trouble to me. Barney Rose sighed helplessly. Before the mission, he wanted to have a good chat with Gunnar. The arrival of the newcomer would not affect him. The position of the old man was replaced. On the contrary, the arrival of the newcomers actually gave the team a more perfect combination configuration, but now Gunnar's practice of hanging the pirate corpses has touched the original intention of Barney Rose to establish the core of the death squad. At the same time, the players are all about Gunnar. The behavior produced disgust and dissatisfaction. The birth of this kind of disgust and dissatisfaction also marked that Gunnar's time in the team was not long. Leaning back on the deck, Guren took apart the parts of the sniper rifle and put them in the gun box in batches. This sniper rifle is Guren's favorite, the M110 sniper rifle, a new weapon developed and improved by Knight Ordnance Company in 2006. It made a name in the sniper war between the US military and Afghanistan. 7.62 mm caliber bullets, up to 20 rounds of magazines, using air-blown semi-automatic firing, faster than the M24 sniper rifle using manual strike system, which can ensure that snipers can be precise and fast even in densely populated areas to lock the target. Is a must-have artifact for snipers. With this weapon, all Guren's money was spent, and he owed Li Ji a favor because the M110 sniper rifle was a military version. Don't fight! On the silent cargo ship, the voice of Captain Barney Rose suddenly sounded again. Guren poked out his head curiously and looked at him. With his eagle-eyed eyes, he locked a few people near the container at a glance. I saw Gunnar relying on his height and sturdiness. While pressing Li Ji's body on the container, he pulled out a large saber from the scabbard around his waist. Yu reading www.yuyugonshu.com was about to slash at Li Ji. Damn! Looking for death. Guren cursed in a low voice, and quickly picked up the sniper rifle with the tripod only removed, with the triple lens attached to his right eye, just glanced at it, and pulled the trigger. The sound of death sounded again, and the bullet was fired from the barrel of the gun, piercing the big saber in Gunnar's hand with lightning speed. The powerful impact brought by the 7.62 mm semi-automatic sniper bullet is not something ordinary people can resist. I saw the sharp saber held by Gunnar, accompanied by a roar and metal collision, directly flying out of his hand. Kong dang, the big saber fell onto the deck not far away. Feeling the shock of his numb right arm, Gunnar looked at the dark figure at the commanding height of the deck in the dark in horror. He knew that the person who had just shot was Guren. Aaron, don't shoot. Barney Rose said to the earphones, turned around and pulled Gunnar over, angrily said, Enough Gunnar. I wanted to talk to you well, but you have already sucked into confusion. To the extent that your behavior today has violated the purpose of our death squad, you will no longer be a member of the death squad from today. I will expel you in the name of the captain. Gunnar was unwilling to show weakness and looked at the captain Barney Rose. Although Barney Rose's eyes were calm as usual, Gunnar, who had been in contact with the captain for several years, naturally saw a cruel look under the captain's calm eyes. Gunnar clenched his fists, stepped back slightly, broke free from Barney Rose, stared at the other person resentfully and said, Barney, you choose the newcomer to give up me. This is the stupidest decision you have ever made in your life. P.S. Seeking collection, seeking recommendation ticket. Accompanied by the whining engine noise, a black transport plane traversed a beautiful route through the air. Guys, the task was successfully completed. Barney Rose looked at the balance payment from the customer on the phone, walked into the cabin happily, and smiled at the rest of the team. The task is well done. The customer paid an extra 200,000 yuan, and I decided to leave this money for us to celebrate after returning to the headquarters. Awesome! I can finally rest. This time I have to go and play. I'm so bored lately. Everyone will keep me drunk tonight. Hearing that there was an extra 200,000 US dollars for public play, a group of mercenaries walking on the tip of the knife made a howl of wolves. As mercenaries, everyone has a deep understanding. No one knows whether a task can survive, have fun in time, and cherish the good time now becomes the purpose of these people. Caesar, who was sitting opposite, said excitedly, Yin and Yang don't want to leave first when you go to play this time. I will definitely get you drunk. Oh? Then see who is getting drunk. Li Ji smiled heartily. Although Li Ji doesn't like going to nightclubs and the like, but the team members all go, he naturally won't leave alone without being gregarious. Then Li Ji turned his head and whispered to Guren, Aaron, this mission is over. Yes, are you going back to Chinatown, or are you going to the headquarters to get familiar with it? Guren smiled, go to the headquarters first to get familiar with the familiar environment, and I will see Grandpa Mo after a few days. Alright, since you choose to take this route, you should avoid going to Master Mo's side in the future, and don't cause trouble to his old man. Li Ji nodded, working as a mercenary. The enemy that may offend is no better than the gang. Try to avoid contact with acquaintances as little as possible, so as to avoid possible troubles. During the conversation between the two, Captain Barney Rose walked over with a cigar in his mouth. He sat next to Guren and said with a smile, How about Aaron? How did it feel to be on the mission for the first time? Very good, much better than I thought. Guren told the truth. In his previous life, he had seen many real and false stories about mercenaries through the internet, movies, novels, and other channels. Ren thinks that if he joins in, it will take at least some time to adapt. But what I never expected is that, except for the first shot that pulled the trigger, there was a little nervousness. The following shots were shot repeatedly, and there was no response at all, just like shooting a target in a gun training ground, smooth and yet calm down. Barney Ross laughed and said, Haha, good job, it seems that you are a natural fit for this business, Aaron. Before I saw you shooting targets in the training ground, I thought you were a natural sniper, but now I really wait until in actual combat, I found that you are much better than I expected. Work hard. You are the only sniper in our team at present, and there will be many places where you will be needed in the future. He did not hesitate to praise Guren's marksmanship and courage. This is naturally not a compliment. After all, a newcomer can accurately knock down in the chaotic gun battle without any actual combat experience. Several pirates, this in itself is a testimony of strength and courage. Thank you, I will work hard as the captain. Gu Ren's eyes lit up. He didn't care about the first few compliments of the captain at all. What he really cared about was the last one, the only sniper in the team. Barney Rose, as the captain of the death squad, said the meaning of this sentence is very obvious. It must be the silly Gunnar Jensen who should be kicked out of the death squad. Well, I believe you. Barney Rose smiled and patted Gu Ren on the shoulder, stood up and said, we're going to the bar to have a good time later. You must be there as a newcomer. No problem. Gu Ren nodded. By the way, since you have officially joined the death squad, you should have a code name. Barney Rose took a deep breath of the cigar smoke, and the moment he exhaled the smoke, he said, it's better to be called Hawkeye. How is it? You are a sniper in the team, and your natural vision is much better than ordinary people, and the eagle is one of the animals with the best eyesight in the world. I think you are very suitable for this code name. Hawkeye? A member of the Avengers in Marvel? There are also Marvel movies in this world. Gu Ren doesn't know if this is the captain's evil taste or a code name that he said casually. Gu Ren couldn't help but glanced at the captain's gaze. It seemed to be the same as usual, indifferent and indifferent. He thought about it, anyway, it was just a code name, and it happened to be the same as one of his skills, so he smiled and nodded and said, Eagle Eye, this code name is pretty good, then I will be called Hawkeye from now on. Tomorrow I will ask Thor to make you a Death Squad brand unique to you. After speaking, Barney Rose dipped his cigar, waved, turned and walked into the cockpit of the transport plane. After the captain Barney Rose left, Gu Ren chatted with Li Ji again and looked at his watch. There were still a few hours before returning to New York, USA. There was plenty of time, so he simply told Li Ji that he would sleep a while. Closed his eyes and began to take a serious rest. As everyone expected, Gu Ren is a traverser, and he also comes with his own golden finger system that often appears in novels. There is nothing to say about the story before crossing. A normal ordinary person was somehow reborn from 2020 to Chinatown in New York, USA in 2013. Through the world of rebirth, it is roughly the same as in his previous life. Even Gu Ren's appearance is almost the same as in his previous life. He is 1.8 meters tall and weighs 160 kilograms. Even a small birthmark on his arm is exactly the same. This time, Gu Ren mistakenly thought that he was kidnapped to the United States. But then Gu Ren's mind came up with many strange and familiar memories inexplicably. This memory is like a fast-moving movie. It is roughly a child who was brought to the United States by his parents from China. A family of 3 came to the United States for the first time. I went straight to New York's Chinatown and went to an uncle at home. This uncle's surname is Mo. He came to the United States in the 1980s to find a living. With his ancestral Mo Jiaquan, he opened a martial arts gym in New York's Chinatown. Although he is not wealthy, he still has a good life by accepting apprentices. Because there was an uncle who taught boxing, Gu Ren's father asked his son to learn Mo's boxing with his uncle. The memory after that was a normal Chinese family life experience in the United States. Until a year ago, on Christmas Day 2012, Gu Ren's parents were brutally murdered by a gangster with a gun on their way home from get off work. Gu Ren, who couldn't accept the reality, fainted all of a sudden, which also gave Gu Ren an opportunity for 2020. Traveling to the United States in 2013, there was no change in his body. At one time, Gu Ren felt a bit of a dream, but then the golden finger that suddenly appeared in his mind confirmed the fact that he was traveling. Gu Ren has been studying this seemingly crude system for almost half a year. When it first appeared, Gu Ren had a look of excitement, but later discovered that in addition to normal training to increase the attributes and skills of strength and agility, regardless of what kind of method he adopted, the system didn't react at all, which made Gu Ren feel like playing an upgrade game, training spawning monsters. This situation continued until half a year ago, when Gu Ren met a friend of Master Mo, the master of Majiaquan, when he was practicing martial arts at the Magia Martial Arts Gym in Chinatown. New York. The system that had not changed for a long time suddenly released a novice mission. Novice mission, join the death squad. This mission came very suddenly, but it also made Guren understand that the world he traveled through did not seem to be the year 2013 of the world he was in before, nor was it a simple rebirth. It was suspected that he came to the world of the movie The Expendables. It is no wonder that when Guren first saw Li Ji, he always felt that he looked very much like a familiar actor, even his name was the same. After a long time, it turned out to be the world of the movie The Expendables. At 3 o'clock in the morning, after Guren attended the welcome and victory reception within the Death Squad, he returned with everyone to the headquarters of the Death Squad in Brooklyn, New York. Brooklyn is the most chaotic district in New York. The daily shootings, there are countless drug trafficking cases. It is this chaotic and sinful place in Brooklyn that is most suitable for the unseen occupation of mercenaries. At the same time, Captain Barney Rose is here to recruit 2 members of the team, Heavy Machine Gunner Caesar and Almighty Warrior Highway. Back to the Death Squad headquarters, Guren took a tour with Li Ji. There was nothing surprising. On the surface, it was an auto repair shop, but the basement was built into a secret base for storing weapons and equipment. After a brief tour of the headquarters, Li Ji walked out of the basement with Guren and found a room for him to rest in the temporary housing area behind the repair shop. The lodging area of the repair shop is not large, with a total of 4 rooms, which can be regarded as a place for everyone to rest temporarily during the mission. As for the real residence of the team members, no one would be stupid enough to expose it. After all, there are many enemies in the mercenary business. Although everyone is considered a comrade in the trenches, what should be reserved will still be reserved. In the dark room, the windows and doors are tightly closed. In the room of about 15 square meters, there is only a simple single bed. There is no extra cabinet or table. The bed covers and sheets on the single bed. It was black and white. The place close to the wall was covered with dust and looked dirty, but Guren didn't care about these details. He took off his jacket and lay on the bed, and began to study the rewards for the novice task. Name, Guren Constitution, 7 Power, 7 Agility, 8 Spirit, 12 Skill, Hawkeye Mojiaquin Weapon, Sniper Rifle Firearms Item, M110 Sniper Rifle. Remaining attribute points, 1. Guren carefully observed the changes in the system. In addition to the addition of a code name Eagle Eye next to the name, reading www.uyugonshu.com, the changes in the system include a little attribute after completing the task of joining the Death Squad novice, and a random an opportunity to draw skills from within the Death Squad. After studying the system for more than half a year, Guren has a relatively deep understanding of this system, which looks similar to the property bar of online games. The 4 attributes, like the name, represent a person's physique, strength, agility, and spirit. In addition to the spirit far beyond ordinary people, Guren's other 3 attributes are also much better than most adult men. Normal people's attributes are basically around 5 points, and Guren's lowest attributes have reached 7 points. As for skills, Eagle Eye, a talented skill that is the same as Guren's nickname, is a natural talent that Guren came to this world. His eyesight is excellent, enough to see scenes 20 meters away with the naked eye. It's clear. Mojiaquin is a southern style of boxing practiced by Guren since he was a child. Although he hasn't practiced well in his memory, he has persisted for more than 10 years. As for firearms, it is a skill that Guren has been training hard for more than half a year. Thanks to the proud talent of Hawkeye, he is more intelligent than 99 people in the world in long-range sniping. After confirming that there were no new changes in the system, Guren began to calculate the reward for this novice mission. First, complete a little attribute point of the task reward. Guren has already thought about adding it to agility. As the only sniper in the Death Squad, he does not need to fight in close hands, so the power attribute can be eliminated, and the temporary 7 points in the physical attribute are enough. Used. P.S. Ask for flowers, ask for recommendations, newcomers, and new books, ask for support. The first light on the day came into the window, and Gu Ren, who was lying on the bed, opened his eyes in a daze. After more than half a year of training, his physiological clock was abnormally stable, and he would wake up on time at this point every day. Looking at the strange and familiar room, Gu Ren silently got up and put on his coat, opened the door of the room and was about to go out, but he ran into Li Ji, who came over. "Good morning, Brother Li." Gu Ren said hello. Li Ji was surprised. "Aaron, you got up so early? I thought you would sleep a little longer the first time you perform the task." "Getting used to this point, I can't sleep longer." Gu Ren shook his head slightly. In order to be able to join the death squad to complete the novice mission, he has suffered a lot in the past 6 months. "Yes, young people don't need to go to bed every day." Li Ji patted Gu Ren's shoulder with relief. "The captain asked me to come and call you to get up and go to the meeting. You go to the factory to wash and wash." "I see." Gu Ren nodded. He knew that the purpose of the captain's meeting so early was nothing more than to share the reward after completing the task. Li Ji said with a smile, "Aren't you short of money lately? You did a good job this time. If you want to come to the captain, you should not be stingy to give you more. It is good to have more points." Gu Ren smiled. He is indeed short of money. About half a year ago, a newbie task suddenly appeared in the system that had not changed for a long time. It was still a dangerous job to join the death squad. In order to ensure that he was alive and complete the mission, Gu Ren asked a US Marine Corps veteran to train himself for the government compensation received by his deceased parents. This veteran had a high cost of $2,000 a week and a variety of guns and ammunition. The daily consumption has almost completely spent this compensation. After the compensation was exhausted, Gu Ren took out all the deposits at home and asked Li Ji to buy a military version of the M110 sniper rifle. Now Gu Ren can say that apart from the single-family house in the suburbs of New York that his parents left him, he only has a few $100s in cash in his wallet. Ross Auto Repair Shop. Barney Rose walked to the middle with a paper bag in his hand, and said to the team members, "The employment fee for this mission is $1 million US. Afterwards, the client was very satisfied with our actions and paid extra. After deducting all the expenses and the carnival expenses of last night, there are still $980,000 US. The death squad's hiring share is very simple. Except for the previously set ratio for each person's share, all expenses during the mission are included in the consumption of employment fees. For example, in the mission the day before yesterday, the death squad rented a speedboat locally because a large loan deposit was given, and the speedboat was thrown on the spot afterwards. This deposit was naturally included in the employment fees paid by the client. Christmas, this is yours." After talking about the consumption and expenses of this mission, Barney Rose took out several stacks of green-oiled dollar bills from the cowhide bag and threw them directly to sitting in a used car. "Christmas. Thank you for your head." Christmas took the thrown dollar and thanked him, but his face didn't seem to be very happy. Barney Rose saw the displeasure on his friend's Christmas face, and frowned slightly. He knew that Christmas was not about dividing money. He wanted to wait for the dividing of money and then talk to him. He took out a few stacks of dollar bills and threw them to the road that came near. "The road is yours." "Thank you, Captain." The highway quickly took the banknotes, and simply counted them. There were a full $100,000, and the eyes suddenly brightened, and the joy in my heart could not be concealed. "Caesar, this is yours." "Thank you, Captain." "Yin and Yang, this is yours." "Thank you, Captain." After 4 people's wages were paid in a row, Barney Rose turned to look at Gu Ren sitting on the stool, smiled at the corner of his mouth, and said, "Hawkeye, your performance in the mission this time is very good. It's rare to have such a good performance, so I will reward you with an extra $20,000 for this mission. I hope you can continue to do so in the next mission." "Thank you, Captain." Listening to the captain's appreciation, Gu Ren raised his head and smiled. This is the badge made by Tor for you last night. You are welcome to officially join the Death Squad. Barney Rose handed Guren the green dollar bill, and by the way, he passed the former Death Squad member last night and the current Death Squad member Thor. The expedited Death Squad badge engraved with the letters Eagle Eye was handed over. Guren took these things, slipped a few stacks of banknotes into his jacket, and set his eyes on the Death Squad badge. The front of this badge is a raised skull with the English letters Death Squad engraved on the bottom. Turning it over, the English letters engraved on the back are exactly Eagle Eye. Is this the badge of the Expendables? It is quite heavy and should be made of pure steel. Guren played with the small badge in his hand. Although he had seen this badge at Li Ji's before, he only glanced at it from a distance, and did not play with it as carefully as it is now. After sending out a few people's money, Barney Rose patted his palms and said, "Okay, this mission is over. Next, before a new mission comes, everyone can rest for a while, but I don't hope someone makes trouble everywhere during the break." The Death Squad receives tasks generally through his channel, Captain Barney Rose. According to Brother Lee said before, the team leader does not receive tasks frequently, and on average he only receives tasks once a month. Every time after completing the task, everyone will take a long vacation. Unless someone pays extra expedited fees during the period, Barney Rose will never pick up the task intensively in a short time, because once it is too much intensive picking up of tasks often results in casualties. Up to now, in the past 3 years since the Death Squad was established, except for the former player Thor who was unfortunately shot in a mission, the body's internal secretion problems occurred, and the weight increased so that it was no longer suitable for mercenaries. Few team members were injured during the mission. Gunnar was expelled from the Death Squad. I think everyone already knows it. I don't want to repeat what I said before, but it's the first time Hawkeye has joined our team, so I'll repeat it. Our Death Squad acted. There are only 3 steps in the process: take the task, execute the task, complete the task. While the captain was talking about the purpose of the Death Squad, Guren was listening while secretly calculating a chance to draw random skills for the Death Squad. There are currently 7 people in the Death Squad, including Captain Barney Rose, Christmas Jason, Yin Yang Li Ji, Caesar Cruz, Highway Randy, Thor of the Logistics Department, and Guren, the Hawkeye. Through conversations with Li Ji and the movie plots he has seen, Guren got a general idea of the positioning of everyone in the team and their respective assassins. The captain's assassin should be the small revolver that he carries with him. It is different from ordinary people. With his hand speed, he is definitely one of the best in revolver bursts. Not only can he shoot all the 6 bullets in the revolver in the first time, but he can also accurately hit the target. In reality, although Guren has never seen the captain use a revolver, he can know from the movie that the captain's skill is quite powerful. If it can be extracted, it can be regarded as making up for Guren's shortcomings in melee shootouts. Caesar Cruz and Randy Highway, their performances in the movie are not very outstanding. In the mission the day before yesterday, Guren did not find any extra special skills for these 2 people. I just wanted to rely on training in the US Special Forces. Bring a strong physique and super fighting skills, thus joining the Death Squad. Li Ji, his marksmanship is not particularly outstanding in the team, but he is one of the best in melee combat. Regardless of the protagonist's aura, he can almost defeat everyone in the team with his fighting skills. Of course, this is just a fighting skill. From the perspective of overall strength, it is difficult for Li Ji to compare with the few tall Malaysians in the team because of his small size. This is why after the mission ended the day before yesterday, he had conflicts with Gunnar in a fight. The reason for being forcibly restrained by the opponent's physical superiority. Christmas Jason and Thor from the Logistics Department, their special skills should be the flying knife skills shown in the movie. This skill is not bad, at least it can solve the battle with a flying knife when it is not suitable for using guns. And there will be no slightest movement. It's a pity that there is a big difference between the throwing skills of Christmas and Thor. Gu-Ren doesn't know if he draws Christmas's throwing knife skills or Thor's throwing knife skills. If it's Thor, it's naturally good, but if it's Christmas, if you do, then you will lose out. According to the level of the system, Thor's throwing knife skills are at least LV3, while the top of Christmas is LV2. So what Gu-Ren liked most was the captain's revolver raid. Shoots 6 bullets in just a few seconds and hits 6 enemies at the same time. This skill is really great. But the most important thing is that Gu-Ren still doesn't know if the system rewards the death team members with a random skill draw, whether he also includes himself, and also does not know whether the package does not include the expelled Gunnar. If Gu-Ren and Gunnar are included, the chance of getting the captain's revolver raid is 1 in 8, and the difficulty has increased a lot. Thinking of this, Gu-Ren pursed his lips, watching the big guys around him. Yu reading www.yuyugonshu.com gritted his teeth and shouted inwardly, "The system gives me a chance to use the lottery." The lucky draw opportunity for the death members begins. Congratulations for winning the revolver raid skill of Barney Rose, the captain of the Expendables. There is no turntable, no pointer. Before Gu-Ren had figured out the situation, a mechanical voice appeared in his mind. Yay! When Gu-Ren heard the captain's revolver raid, he was immediately ecstatic. Regardless of the presence of people around, he quickly closed his eyes and immersed himself in the system. On the skill column under the personal attribute column, the extra skill was unexpectedly revolver raid, LV4 LV4. Gu-Ren was shocked. He did not expect that the captain's revolver raid skills were actually LV4. Although the system does not have any instructions or how to improve the skill level, after more than half a year of practice, Gu-Ren clearly knows that every attribute and skill of the system needs long-term hard training to improve. This is why Gu-Ren always thinks that his system is an upgraded game panel for fighting monsters. And it's also the Digwai upgrade of Hell difficulty. You should know that Gu-Ren's only LV3 skill is Emoji Aquan. This skill was only a little bit upgrade to level 3 for Gu-Ren's predecessor for more than 10 years. If you want to upgrade to LV4, you don't know that it takes the year of the monkey to achieve this. Now that he has a LV4 level revolver raid skill, Gu-Ren is naturally ecstatic. Not to mention the revolver LV2 on the weapon bar. This is equivalent to drawing an LV4 skill, plus an extra revolver specialization. P.S. Newcomers and new books, ask for recommendation tickets and collect. Li Ji walked to Gu-Ren's side and watched him close his eyes with a smile on the corner of his mouth. He seemed to be dreaming something, so he couldn't help shouting, "Aaron, don't sleep. What's wrong with Big Brother Li?" Gu-Ren returned to his senses and opened his eyes to look at Li Ji. Li Ji said, "It's nothing, I just want to tell you. I have already booked a flight ticket to return to China in the afternoon, so I won't go back to Chinatown with you. Take me to say hello to Master Mo." Return to China? Is there enough time? Gu-Ren was stunned. He knew that Li Ji was married and had a son about his age. Li Ji saw Gu-Ren's doubts and said with a smile, "You may not be used to it. Basically, the team has a mission once a month. Now we have just completed a mission not long ago. I think there should be at least 1 month of vacation." Well, I thought it would be every week. Although Gu-Ren has watched the Expendables movie, this is the real world. Naturally, there will not be employment tasks one after another like in the movie. Haha, I also hope to have it every week, so that I can retire early, and I won't have to fight my old bones. Li Ji is over 40 years old this year. A person his age can also join a mercenary, thanks to his professional personal combat ability. I know Big Brother Li, I will tell Grandpa Mo. Hearing Li Ji's words, Gu-Ren couldn't help but let out a sigh. Sure enough, the real world is more realistic than the movie shows. Don't watch the movie. The Death Squad completes thrilling and exciting tasks one after another. It looks refreshing, but behind participating in these tasks, there is still a lack of money. Then I'll go first. You can stay here if you want, and go back if you don't want to. If there is a task, the captain will notify you in advance. Li Ji patted Gu Ren on the shoulder without waiting for him in reply. He turned around and walked out of the repair shop with a black backpack. The captain not far away was whispering to Christmas. They were talking about something while walking towards the gate. The Caesar cruise next to him also hooked up with Highway Randy and went out, waiting for Gu Ren to return. After experiencing it, I found that the entire repair shop was only left alone. Looking at the empty repair shop, Gu Ren hesitated for a few seconds, and quickly went back to the room and stuffed some belongings into his backpack. When he was about to leave the repair shop, he thought about it, and he turned around and turned on the shutter of the repair shop. Pulled down. Patting the dust on his palm, Gu Ren looked up at the bright sky, breathed a long breath, turned and walked towards the road outside the laneway. When he came to the Death Squad headquarters yesterday, he was in the captain's car, so today I can only take the bus back to Chinatown. Magia Martial Arts Museum, 387 Chinatown, New York. Brother Gu is here. Good morning, Brother Gu. Master, Brother Gu is here. As soon as Gu Ren stepped into the Magia Martial Arts Hall, he was surrounded by a group of seniors practicing in the hall. Hello everyone, where's the master? Master is inside, brother, I'll call you a master. Thank you. When a disciple ran to the martial arts hall to look for Master Mo, Gu Ren turned around and glanced at the familiar faces in front of him. The corners of his mouth were slightly raised, and he smiled and said, Okay, everyone practice boxing, wait for the master. Come out and see that all of you don't practice, don't blame brothers for not interceding with you. As soon as these words came out, most of the disciples honestly returned to their positions and began to practice Mojiaquan with punches and kicks. But there were still a small group of people approaching Gu Ren, and one of the white juniors said, Brother Gu, I have mastered the set of Liu He Chuan you taught me last time. Look at what I need to improve. As one of the 3 martial arts schools in New York's Chinatown, Magia Wuguan, in addition to the Chinese who live in Chinatown, come here to practice martial arts, and every year there are many well-known white and black disciples who have received Chinese kung fu movies. With the influence of martial arts movies, came to Chinatown to apprentice art. When Gu Ren had just crossed over and had not fully accepted the memory of the original owner, he was also taken aback by the apprentices of various skin colors in the Mojiawu Hall. This really complied with that sentence. However, after absorbing the memory of the original owner, Gu Ren understood that most of these foreign apprentices only watched some domestic kung fu movies, and on a whim, they went to Chinatown to find a martial arts gym to practice martial arts. Among these people, except for a very small number of people who can come to practice every day, most of them, after teaching the tuition, come by fishing for 3 days and surfing the net for 2 days, and once they come, they all take out their mobile phones. East Pat, West Pat, and then write some high-quality sentences on Twitter or Facebook to highlight your own uniqueness. Jack, your strength in each punch is too much, you have to learn to take it back. Gu Ren patted the white junior brother Jack on the arm, motioned him to make a tentative decision, and instructed, Liu He boxing emphasizes the force that moves with your heart. Yu reading www.yuyuganshu.com, the heart moves at will, as the so-called body and spirit, vitality, length and strength. I didn't understand, brother. Jack looked at Gu Ren in a daze. Although his Chinese is good, Gu Ren's words are not a simple one or two in the vernacular. To put it simply, you have to learn how to control your strength, grasp a certain degree, and not be able to punch out your whole body strength in a straightforward manner. In this way, you will not be able to recruit in the first place. Gu Ren said something, just as Jack still doesn't understand. He uses baseball as a metaphor. Jack, you've played baseball, right? You can't just use force in the swing of baseball, but grasp it. The bowler's changes, and then you can better use your strength to swing. Aaron is here. While Gu Ren was explaining the essentials of Liuhuan, a familiar voice suddenly sounded behind him. He looked back and saw that the person was Mo Yugen, the 46th generation heir of Majiaquan. Gu Ren saw the master coming over. A happy smile appeared. "Well, master, I'm back. Just come back, just come back." Mo Yugen excitedly grabbed Gu Ren's shoulders and looked up and down. After confirming that Gu Ren was not injured, he nodded in satisfaction and said, "Go, follow me. Go inside and talk." "Good master." Gu Ren naturally knew the reason Mo Yugen was so excited, nothing more than that he came back safe and sound. Mo Yugen rushed back to the room to chat with Gu Ren, then turned to the people who were still practicing in the hall and said, "You guys practice the exercises, don't be lazy, Aaron helps me stare at them. If anyone dares to be lazy, then he'll add extra take a horse step for half an hour." "It's the master." Aaron nodded. "P.S. Ask for recommendation tickets, ask for collection." "Opening a martial arts center? You want to open a martial arts center?" Mo made a surprised expression on his face. He couldn't believe that Tang Ren actually wanted to open a martial arts center, or open a martial arts center in Thailand's Chinatown in a foreign country. "Yeah, master, you are admired here in Thailand. I have long wanted to learn from our southern-style Magia boxing. It's a pity that your old man promotes Chinese Kung Fu in the United States and has no time to come to this little Thailand, so I thought about it. As a closed disciple of your old man, I should help you solve your problems. I decided to open a Majiaquan martial arts gym in Chinatown, Thailand." Tang Ren on the other end of the phone spoke very nicely. The sincere words made Mo Yugen a little moved. He thought that his reputation as the 46th generation descendant of Majiaquan from the south had spread from Chinatown in New York to the other side of the ocean. Thailand Chinatown. It is a good thing to open a martial arts hall to promote Majiaquan, and to be a teacher is also supported, but... Just what, master? Mo Yugen held the telephone tube with a weird expression. "It's just that I remember that you only learned Majiaquan for half a year. Will it be too reluctant to teach people in the opening martial arts hall? Don't mess up our southern school." The prestige of Majiaquan. Although Majiaquan is not well known, it is famous in Guangdong. You must know that there are 5 famous fists in Guangdong, namely Hong, Lu, Cai, Li, and Mo. And Mo Yugen is the 46th generation of Majiaquan. He teaches authentic Majiaquan. Naturally, it is impossible for people to pretend to be the heirs of Majiaquan, slander and deceive everywhere, corrupting the reputation of Majiaquan. "Oh, master, I have only studied for half a year, but I have practiced hard for several years in private, and I will definitely not lose the reputation of your old man. I want to believe in me. And it's not that I want to open a martial arts gym, it's me. Over the past few years in Thailand, too many people have heard that I am the heir of the Mo family boxing. They clamored for me to teach boxing every day, and I was forced to do nothing. In order to open the martial arts gym, Tang Ren brags vigorously on the phone how popular Majiaquan is in Thailand's Chinatown, and how powerful he is here. Anyway, the summary is one sentence: opening Majiaquan in Thailand is definitely able to start Majiaquan's reputation. Mo groaned for a moment, thought about it carefully, and said, "Tang Ren, do you really want to open a martial arts gym?" "It's not that I want to open a martial arts master, but the people here really want to learn Majiaquan." Tang Ren continued to tout. Mo Yugen said, Okay, don't tell me these are useless. If you want to open a martial arts gym in Thailand, it will be useless even if I block it, but you have to think about it. The house then recruits students. If someone comes to kick the hall, you can stand it. Of course I can stand it. Master, don't underestimate your apprentice, now I can beat 10 of them without a problem. Tang Ren patted his chest on the other end of the phone, and the sound of banging was quite something like that, but suddenly his voice changed, and he said again, "It is not a problem for me to hit 10, but you know the master. After all, I'm still young, and I'm a young talent. I'm afraid that some people think that my young age is not a serious matter, so I want to invite you to come to Thailand for a long time. Open. Go to Thailand. Mo Yugen was a little moved. After all, he opened the Magiaquan martial arts gym in Thailand. As the 46th generation heir of Magiaquan, he should go and take a look. Don't let Tang Ren this kid, it was messed up. It's just that Thailand is a long way away. Mo Yugen is at an age and doesn't want to run around. Suddenly he sees Gu Ren next to him and he can't help but his eyes light up. Okay, when will your martial arts gym open? I'll come by the master personally. Take a look. Haha, I know you are the best master. Tang Ren laughed and said, I have counted the auspicious days. October 10th is the auspicious day. It is easy to open on that day. October. Mo Yugen looked up at the perpetual calendar hanging on the wall. July 1st, there are almost 3 months left before October 10th. Okay, I've got it for my teacher. I personally took someone over to join you. Then it's the master. Tang Ren smiled and hung up the phone. Mo Yugen also put down the phone, turned his head to look at Gu Ren and said, Aaron, do you have time in October? October? I don't know, maybe I have time. Gu Ren raised his eyebrows and wondered whether he wanted to take himself to Thailand. Mo Yugen pretended not to hear clearly and said, then it will be set. Then I will take you to Thailand. Your junior will open a martial arts gym. You, senior, should come and have a look with me. In the face of the rogue Mo Yugen, Gu Ren felt helpless, but seeing his old man seemed to recognize this, he couldn't say whether he was laughing or crying. Then I have to see if there is a holiday that day. Master, you also know that, run the boat. Sometimes it takes months to spend at sea. If you don't have time, ask for leave, anyway, you have to go with me when that time comes. Mou is a fool. Looking at him like this, Gu Ren had to bite the bullet and agree to it temporarily. Anyway, if the death squad had a mission, he could not come back or not, and he would be scolded when the matter was over. Looking at the deflated Gu Ren, Chen Ying smiled brightly and said to Mou, Master, I have something to do, so I will leave first, and I will see you in a few days. Well, you have only recently been an errand. You have to work hard. If you need to be a teacher, just speak up. Good master. Chen Ying nodded, turned around and waved to Gu Ren, I'll leave Gu Ren first, remember what I said to you, if you think about it, call me. Okay, if I really can't hang on any more that day, I will definitely find you. Although it is impossible for Gu Ren to be an auxiliary police officer, Chen Ying also smiled and waved goodbye to the other party after Gu Ren followed Mo Yugen said, Master, I will go home to clean up the house. I haven't gone back for more than half a year. The house is probably full of dust. Well, go, remember to come to me for dinner tonight. Mo Yugen waved his hand. I know the master. Gu Ren said goodbye to his master, and went straight to a residential building at the end of Chinatown. It was a house left by Gu Ren's parents. The area was small, only more than 100 square meters in total. However, Shengli had a good location, not only close to Chinatown, but also close to Broadway Street. Ahem! Opened the door with the key, and Gu Ren was choked by the dust in the house. I haven't cleaned up for a few months. The house is already full of dust. Fortunately, Gu Ren used a plastic sheet to wrap the furniture and electrical appliances in the house before. There was not too much dust. Just sweep the dust on the ground and walls. It is good. It took 2 hours to clean the house, and Gu Ren went to a small convenience store opened by Chinese people downstairs to purchase some daily necessities, put the purchased food and water in the refrigerator, and then took off his clothes and walked in. I took a good shower in the bathroom. When it came out, Gu Ren checked the time. It was already past 4 in the afternoon. He simply threw the clothes into the washing machine. He changed into the new clothes and walked out the door. He walked towards Mo Yugen's martial arts gym and agreed. When the master went to his place for dinner, Gu Ren would naturally not miss the appointment. 5:30 the next morning. Gu Ren woke up from his sleep and simply exercised with some equipment in the house as usual. He made himself an egg noodle, and after breakfast, he put on sportswear and went out. The night before yesterday, Gu Ren added a little attribute of the reward for completing the task to agility. He had been in the headquarters and had no chance to test it. Now I have time. Of course, I have to see how much agility at 8 is better than agility at 7. Come, it's also good to have an obvious reference for considering adding that attribute in the future. New York Central Park is not only located in the Golden area of Manhattan, but also covers an area of more than 5,000 acres. It is the largest urban park in New York, known as the Back Garden of New York. New Yorkers and people from tourists from all over the world are in an endless stream. Although it's only 7 o'clock now, there are already many citizens here in Central Park who come to exercise and walk in the morning. Who? Near the protected waters of the Central Park, under a lush green tree, Gu Ren put his hands on his knees, breathlessly breathing, and after a short break, he stood up and glanced at his wrist. The number on the chronograph 14.57 seconds. This is the average speed of 100 meters when Gu Ren ran a fast circle around the water just now. Excluding manual calculations and abnormal 100 meter runs, Gu Ren's current 100 meter speed should be about 10 seconds. A white man ran from a distance out of breath, and said to Gu Ren, "Man, you just ran so fast. I can't catch up with you desperately. Maybe you ran longer than me. I just ran a few hundred meters. Looking at you, I should have already ran around the lake." Gu Ren smiled at the man. "Yes, I have already ran a lap." The white man proudly said, "I only ran a lap in 20 minutes. It's really great." Hee hee. Gu Ren squeezed out a smile, didn't want to communicate with this person, casually said a few words, turned around and walked towards home, thinking about the improvement after adding a little agility attribute. When he was agile at 7 points before, Gu Ren's 100 m speed was about 12 seconds. Now he has added a little bit and he has entered the World Sprint Championship level of 10 seconds. If he increases to 10 agility in the future, wouldn't it be able to break the human limit of 9 seconds? No, I still have to find a way to find a professional track to try my 100 m speed. It is difficult to accurately figure out where my running limit is now based on the self-test. Gu Ren touched his chin and decided to find a place to test his current speed these days. P.S. Ask for recommendation tickets, ask for collection. A shooting club on the outskirts of New York City. As soon as Gu Ren walked in, he saw a dozen people on the outdoor shooting training ground not far away, playing with various guns. A strong white man heard someone enter the door and turned his head to look, and his eyes suddenly lit up. "Hey, Gu, it's been a long time, why haven't you come here often? It's been a long time since I saw Make." Gu Ren smiled and greeted each other. "You know, the economy is not good recently, I need to work to make more money, otherwise how come I play with you? It seems that you have made a lot of money? How about? Do you want to apply for a lifetime membership card? If you apply for it now, there will be a discount." Make said with a smile on his face. Make is the owner of this shooting club. He used to be a soldier. After he was discharged from the army, he spent all his savings and opened this shooting club in the suburbs of New York. With his identity as a veteran of a special operations force, the shooting club's business has been pretty good, very popular with shooting and veterans around. Gu Ren shook his head, "Forget it, my money is only enough for me to get a monthly card. To be honest, your charges are too expensive. The shooting club opened by Make is a relatively high-end one. It only costs $2,000 per month for a monthly pass. Although the environment is very good, the club has 60% of all training guns available on the market, which can be expensive. The membership fee is still not something ordinary people can come often. Gu Ren also came to this shooting club to apply for a membership card under the guidance of the recruited veteran after the system released the novice mission, and spent half a year practicing marksmanship. Then you are going to do the same season card as before. Make shrugged, did not deny the expensive charges of his shooting club. After all, you get what you pay for. Not only can you experience the thrill of shooting all kinds of guns here, but also can get the most professional guidance. Gu Ren smiled and asked, "Is there a free trial card for one day?" "Of course not." Make showed that you were joking. "Then give me a New Year card." Gu Ren thought for a while. Recently, there should be no tasks on the team leader's side. It's not easy for me to stay at home every day. I occasionally come here to practice marksmanship in my free time and feel active. It's also good. $20,000, you know the rules. Just go to the warehouse and get what you need. If you have any special needs, you can notify the warehouse manager and ask him to help check if there is any stock. Mike said that the special needs are some large caliber fully automatic rifles that are not allowed on the market. Okay, thank you Mike. Soon, Gu Ren paid, and after taking an annual membership card, he walked towards the warehouse where the guns were stored. It was a very large warehouse, which contained almost 60% of the world's. Although all guns are available for sale on the market for civilian use, the variety of guns is beyond imagination. When Gu Ren came with the veteran for the first time, he thought he had walked into the ammunition depot of a certain military base. The goal was filled with all kinds of guns and ammunition, ranging from pistols to rifles and light machine guns. Some Thompson submachine guns and Mauser rifles from World War I and World War II can be found. If people don't know, they think they came to a gun museum dedicated to foreign exhibitions. Gu Ren stayed here for more than half a year, and he knew the warehouse manager. After a brief recollection of the past, he asked the other party to help with a small caliber revolver. The M85 revolver was launched in 2007 by the Brazilian firearms manufacturer Taurus. It uses 0.38 caliber bullets. Although it is not as powerful as the Python, it is often called a mosquito, but it is compact and easy to hide. It is very popular with family members. The warehouse clerk took out the brand new M85 revolver and handed it over, while introducing the information about the pistol. After receiving the gun, Gu Ren skillfully opened the rotating drum magazine, glanced at the 6 filling ports inside, and immediately put the magazine back into the nest with a click, learning the plot in the movie. Rub it lightly, and the crisp sound of Baoba revolving sounded. It's a very good gun. I need this one. By the way, help me get 2 boxes of ammunition. With the skills of Gu Ren can see at a glance that the quality of this revolver is very good. I think it's a new gun that didn't last long. Hearing that, the warehouse clerk took 2 boxes of 0.38 caliber bullets under the table, raised his head and placed the 2 boxes on the table. When Gu Ren took the bullets, he suddenly covered Gu Ren's hand and asked, "I'm curious, haven't you always liked playing with sniper rifles? Why did you want to try this little sheep this time? Sometimes you need to change your taste." Gu Ren smiled at the corner of his mouth, picked up the 2 boxes of bombs, turned around and walked to the shooting range without much explanation. For a moment, Gu Ren walked to the fixed point shooting area of the shooting range, found a place where no one was there, put down the 2 boxes, raised his eyes to look at the human-shaped target 10 meters in front of him, and first raised the revolver and gestured for the distance. Only then opened the bullet box and loaded the bullets into the magazine one by one. 6 bullets loaded. Whew! Gu Ren sighed slightly. Instead of wearing cotton earplugs like the person next to him, he focused all his energy on the clean human-shaped target. When I was relieved and calmed down, Gu Ren, who was originally peaceful, suddenly changed his expression. The muscles hidden under his clothes became tense instantly. At this moment, his soft eyes became more fierce, and a bit more suffocating. Suddenly, Gu Ren suddenly raised his right hand holding the gun, and quickly pulled the trigger. He only listened to boom, boom, and boom. There were 6 shots in a row. The 6 bullets in the revolver poured out, invisible to the naked eye. The speed hit the humanoid target. Revolver raid. 6 shots per second. A customer next to him saw that Gu Ren shot all the bullets in the revolver in such a short period of time. He was shocked and turned his head to look at the target. There were 6 more bullet holes on the humanoid target, 1 on the forehead, heart, left and right hands, left and right legs. Cool. 6 bullet holes and 6 parts were completed in almost 1 second. The customer's face was shocked, then his face flushed, and his heart was very excited and excited. Hi, buddy. The marksmanship is too high. How did you practice it? I didn't know if you fired 1 shot or 6 shots. Why did you.ukansha.com shoot out the bullets all at once and hit them accurately? 6 places on the target. Gu Ren glanced at the customer next to him, saw that he was holding a semi-automatic pistol in his hand, smiled and said, "More practice will be enough." After all, regardless of the customer's questioning, Gu Ren took out 6 more bullets and put them into the magazine. This time he was a little more confident than before, took a breath, and held his breath instantly. Suddenly raised his hand again, boom, boom, boom. 6 shots were fired, another 6 shots per second. The customer watched Gu Ren about to shoot. He turned his head and looked at the target. He only heard the sound of the boom gun. On the human-shaped target 10 meters away, there were only 6 bullet holes before, not a new one. Frowned, said uncertainly, "Is it empty?" "Hit empty? How can it be?" Although the customer's words were not loud, Gu Ren stood 1 meter away from him and heard clearly, but Gu Ren did not explain that he was not empty. After all, you can't tell this person that the 6 shots you just fired were all hit by the previous bullet holes, right? He put 6 bullets into the magazine again. In this review, Ren didn't even on the screen, so he raised his hand directly to get 6 bullets. I have to say that the 0.38 caliber revolver has a really small recoil. Even if Gu Ren fired 18 shots in a row, there was no discomfort in his wrist. On the contrary, because he confirmed the skill power of he obtained from the captain, Gu Ren's heart was a little more excited. If this is a task released by the system in the future, all of them will be given a chance to draw a skill draw. Wouldn't it be possible to integrate all of the squad human ability? P.S. Ask for recommendation tickets, ask for collection. In the blink of an eye, time passed quietly, and soon a week passed. In the past few days, in addition to practicing Magiaquan at the martial arts gym in the morning, Gu Ren went to the shooting club in the afternoon to practice guns, and at night to find a gym to exercise. Although the life at 3 o'clock in the line is very boring, but life is still considered plenty. Early in the morning, Gu Ren put on his sportswear, took the house key and went out, trotting all the way towards Chinatown. At 7 o'clock in Chinatown, there are already stores open at this time. Except for a few convenience stores, most of them are restaurants and tea houses. Gu Ren walked into a Cantonese-style tea house as usual and ordered a piece of wonton noodles and 2 cages of shrimp dumplings. Soon as the waiter brought the wonton noodles up, Gu Ren couldn't wait to pick up the wooden chopsticks on the table, took a big mouthful, and began to eat the noodles. Look! Wonton noodles are sure to be eaten. Gu Ren ate a large bowl of wonton noodles into his stomach in 2 or 3 bites, drank the herbal tea just served by the waiter, and started to eat shrimp dumplings. Because of the noodles on his belly, Gu Ren is not as hungry as he was just now. He slowed down. While eating the shrimp dumplings, he picked up the Chinese Daily on the table and started to read it. Chinese Daily is a newspaper exclusively for Chinese in New York. It uses a Chinese version. Most of the news reports are related to Chinese and Asians. It can be said to be the best Chinese newspaper sold in Chinatown and even in New York. Up. At 11 o'clock at midnight yesterday, a male body was found in the laneway of the Dragon Phoenix Tea House on the west side of Chinatown. After investigation by the police, it was learned that the man was a member of the largest local Chinese community. Longfeng Tea House? Gu Ren stared at the news in the newspaper for a moment, then suddenly raised his head and glanced at the tea house he was in. Isn't this the Dragon Phoenix Tea House? The guests sitting at the table opposite Gu Ren were a few old men. One of the old men suddenly said, "Hey, did you hear about Lao Li? There was a dead person in the alley next door last night." "No. Really dead?" The old man called Lao Li couldn't help but shudder when he heard that there were people dead in the alley next door. He glanced at the wall in front of him, as if he wanted to go through this wall and look to the side. "Roadway? That can be fake or not. I slept late last night, and the police car kept beeping in the middle of the night. I thought it was another flying boy making trouble. I got up and looked through the window like this, my God now. The whole alley was surrounded by the police. I heard that the one who died seemed to be under the hands of Brother Seven. The people of Brother Seven." Lao Li's eyes widened, as if he couldn't believe it. Who is so courageous to make trouble in Brother Seven's sight and kill the people under Brother Seven's hands? I don't know this anymore. Anyway, it has nothing to do with us. It is better to go out and walk less in recent days. Yes, you're right, I will go home and stay after having morning tea. The voices of several old people were getting lower and lower. Gu Ren glanced slightly, stuffed the last shrimp dumpling into his mouth, drank the herbal tea, waved his hand, and shouted, "Pay the bill." After paying the money, when Gu Ren walked out of the Dragon Phoenix Tea House, he deliberately walked a few steps slowly and looked at the laneway next to him. The laneway was surrounded by horizontal bars, and two Chinese police detectives were standing nearby chatting. Looking inside, there seemed to be some dry red blood stains on the ground 6 or 7 meters away. "Gu Ren, why are you here?" Suddenly a familiar voice sounded. Gu Ren looked up and saw that it was Chen Ying, who had just taken up the post of Chinatown Police Station as a criminal police officer for a few days. Seeing that he was an acquaintance, he smiled and said, "I just had morning tea at the Dragon Phoenix Tea House, ready to go to the Master's Martial Arts Hall. Practice your hands. How about you? Why are you here, for yesterday's case?" Chen Ying was surprised. "Do you know the case yesterday?" "I know, it's published in the newspapers. I think there are very few people who don't know." Gu Ren shrugged. "Yes." Chen Ying smiled and wondered whether she was suspicious. Now that the internet is so developed, there was an ambulance and a police car beep last night. I am afraid that many people have already known it last night. Gu Ren noticed that Chen Ying's face was very haggard and the dark circles under her eyes were particularly noticeable. He couldn't help asking, "You didn't sleep last night?" Chen Ying nodded and said, "Yes, a member of the community died here last night. To avoid further community conflicts, let us hurry up and investigate in the bureau. I am a newcomer who has just entered the game and there is no time to sleep. You still have to pay more attention to your body." Gu Ren frowned. Although this is the second meeting between him and Chen Ying, in memory, the two have known each other since childhood, and the relationship has always been good. It is inevitable to care. I know, when the morning shift comes over, I will go back to rest." Chen Ying smiled, and suddenly thought of something, and quickly said, "You go to the Master's martial arts gym, remember to tell the Master, let him close early recently. 1 point, don't close at 7 or 8 in the evening every time. Chinatown may not be safe recently." "Understood, I will tell the Master, you should go back to rest soon." After that, Gu Ren waved his hand, smiled and said goodbye to Chen Ying, turned around and walked towards Mo Yugen's martial arts gym. Looking at the distant back of the other party, Chen Ying stopped talking, thinking about it, and finally did not open her mouth. Mo Family Martial Arts Hall. Okay, I see. Ying, this girl is interested. Mo Yugen heard that people died in the laneway next to the Dragon Phoenix Tea House last night, and couldn't help but sigh, I thought it's no better than before. I didn't expect that the world is still so chaotic. Aren, remember to be more careful when you go out. Yes. I know the master, I will be careful. Faced with the concern of Mr. Mo, Guren smiled and agreed. Mo Yugen didn't look like Guren perfunctory, so he smiled and asked, is it still the same today? Hit a set of punches. Of course, master, see if I have progressed. After speaking, Guren took off his sports jacket and only wore a white vest. He stood in the middle of the martial arts hall and began to practice Mo Jiaquan with one punch and one kick. The routine comes. Looking at Guren scrupulously practicing boxing, Mo Yugen picked up the purple gold teapot on the table and sat on the chair of the Grand Master. Yu reading www.yuyuganshu.com sipped the herbal tea, tilted his legs, and commented on it from time to time. The whole person seemed very comfortable. Near the waters of Varana Island, a modified CA-Air dual-purpose transport aircraft slowly tilted its nose, and under the control of the pilot, it flew a little bit from the sea into the air. Christmas sat in the passenger seat and roared angrily, "Fack! Fack! Fack! Enough Christmas! It's useless to be angry." Expendables Captain Barney Rose said while flying the plane. Christmas frowned and said, "Then you tell me what to do? Could it be that we continue to drive the plane to the shore to kill as before? Didn't you just see the rocket launcher? Almost hit us." Barney Rose glanced at Christmas from the corner of his eye, muttered for a moment, and said, "Notify the players that the holiday is cancelled. That's how it should be." Hearing that the team members were to be summoned to come back for revenge on Christmas, he shouted excitedly, "We should take care of them. Telling these is the stupidest and most stupid thing they have done in this life. Regretful decision. Diddy." Hearing the ringing of the mobile phone text message, Guren wiped the sweat from his forehead, walked to the hangar, took out the phone in the sports jacket, glanced at it, and saw the text "Eagle Eyes return. Have a mission?" Didn't it mean that there were new tasks in 10.5 months? Guren touched his chin. Although he didn't know what was going on, he decided to go back to the headquarters to have a look. Then he turned to Mo Yugen and said, "Master, I'm going back first. I may have to go to sea in the past 2 days. I won't be here recently."